On this week's episode of the Nailed It Wall, we are honored to have our former vice principal, the one, the only, Shelly Schubert. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome to this week's episode of the Nailed It Wall. I'm Mr. Lane, the STEM guy.
And I'm Mrs. Scofield.
And I'm Shelly Schubert.
It is episode 47. It's a shame on us that we've waited 47 episodes to have our former amazing AP, Mrs. Schubert, on here to join us on the Nailed It Wall.
She's been a little busy. She was pretty busy this year, so we're excited. Not that you're less busy now.
So tell us, what is your big announcement? What new role have you moved into?
Well, on July 1st, I started as the new principal of the Deer Valley On Flex program.
Now, how did this come about? Was it something that you just kind of fell into your lap, or is it something that you're really ready to embrace?
Well, I've been wanting to move up to be a principal for a while, but opportunities just didn't align for me. And this summer, the district posted a new position for this Deer Valley Online Learning Program principal. And at first, I looked at the job posting and I thought, no way, that's crazy. But I got a few phone calls and a few people said, I think you should think about this. I think you should apply. So after some deliberation, I took the leap and applied for it. And when you become an administrator, you have to go through several rounds of interviews. So I went through a couple of rounds of interviews and got the job amazingly. And I'm so proud to be serving the district in this way. It's definitely not something that I dreamed about or really thought about, but there's a need right now, and I'm happy to kind of step into those shoes and fulfill a need for our district at this time.
And such an innovative idea. This is a K-12 online school. You're heading up kinders all the way to senior year in high school. Kudos to you.
Yep.
This is a huge thing for our district, especially this time, the current state, what Arizona is going through. So we are happy that you are taking the reins. You're going to lead this online charge. This is here to stay. But as we start every episode, we want to start off with our Nailed It this week. Schofield, how do you nail it this week?
Well, it was a pretty epic week, I'd say. We got our new pod art out, which was a big deal, right?
You're pumped.
Yeah,
you
really
hated that
pumped.
picture.
I've been not a fan of the old artwork for a while, but we got that up, so that's pretty exciting. But I had this amazingly awesome fail. I said that I wanted to treat you and your kids to lunch and a Slurpee, and we stopped and got, I have to say, I haven't been in to get a Slurpee for a long time. So I'm a little out of practice as it is. And I went in and got the Slurpee in a coffee cup because those are the cups that were right next to the machine, and it said must use these cups. So I did, and I just thought, well, Slurpees are different now. I guess they go in a coffee cup. So I got that, and I'm checking out, and the lady's like, you used the wrong cup. And anyways, a big debacle about the cup, right? So I walk that out, and Lane says, I'm trying to phrase it, and what are you thinking? Like, how are the kids going to drink from that? So then I thought, okay, maybe I should go back in. But the lady did not want to give me a new cup. I just want to say, she didn't want to give me a Slurpee cup. I had made my commitment to the coffee cup, and that's what I was supposed to be taking. So I went back in and said, this is not going to work. I need the proper cup. Get that, grab a couple lids, go back out. I'm noticing the lids, they're not quite right, but I just figure, whatever, we'll figure it out when we get out there. And I think when I get out there, the lid I brought was too big, way overlapping the cup. So then I go back in for a third time, and it was probably 110 degrees, 112 degrees that day. It was quite hot. So, and you mask up every time, so go back in, and I'm looking, and the lids just do not work for the cups. Like, But I'm thinking this has got to be me. People are buying Slurpees all the time. These people are just staring at me like I'm some wackadoodle. So anyhow, I finally called the lady over and said, I'm going to need you to see what I'm seeing and explain to me how this is supposed to work. Well, come to find out, they had run out of the lids that actually fit the cups. And so it was not just me. And so then I moved on to yet a third different kind of Slurpee cup, and all was well in the land. But I will have to tell you, the face when I came out with the wrong things, it was a pretty big failed. But in my defense now, it was not really my fault only. So anyway, it was a comical moment. It all turned out well, and the kids got their Slurpees, and we lived to tell the tale. It is hot out there though lately, man. That was a brutally hot day.
Record high yesterday, 116.
Yeah.
Slurpee debacle.
Yeah.
All right, Schubert, how'd you nail it this week?
I think my biggest nailed it is that I coordinated and we hosted a blood drive for the American Red Cross on Thursday. And, you know, in this pandemic world that we're living in, a lot of people have canceled hosting a blood drive. So there's a real need for blood. And so about 4 or 5 months ago, when this all first started, I contacted the American Red Cross because I used to coordinate blood drives when I worked at Starbucks 100 years ago. And, you know, at the beginning, everybody's like, you got to donate blood. You've got to donate blood. And the Cardinals held a big blood drive at the big State Farm Stadium. And I thought, you know, we have all these empty buildings that the kids aren't coming to right now. What a great opportunity for us to be a leader and share our buildings with the community so that we can donate blood for the American Red Cross. Well, it took about 6 or 8 weeks to plan it, and lots of phone calls and lots of coordinating and organizing and making sure that everybody's following CDC guidelines and all that stuff. But to make a long story short, we had an amazingly successful blood drive. We were going to only have about 45 donors come, but at the last minute, because of all the cancellations, you know, because our state is in such a hot spot for COVID, they asked if we could double the size. So we did.
Wow. That's awesome.
We ended up, we had 71 donors come, and we had 67 units of blood collected, which, if you know, each unit can help 3 to 5 people, depending on how they use the blood. So
wow,
impacted a lot of people, which I'm very proud of. And the blood drive was really awesome and wonderful. And that's my biggest nailed it for this week.
Nailed it.
That is a big.
I love seeing your pictures on Twitter, and, you know, all of your promoting this, kind of leading up to this. Such an amazing idea and concept, especially in these times.
Have you donated blood before, Shelly? Are you a blood donor?
Yes.
Yep.
I have to say it's been a couple of years since I've done it, but yeah, I've been a blood donor for a long time.
It's a big deal.
And we learned that she worked at Starbucks.
I know.
Cheers to
I know.
you.
Cheers
You know,
to
she's a barista. You know, like
Starbucks. We need a sponsor.
right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Definitely. Shout out to Mrs. Schubert, the former barista.
Yeah.
Tough to follow up that nailed it there, but
I
I feel that when I watch a YouTube video, I can literally do anything I put my mind to just because I see it on a YouTube video. Now, yesterday we had a record high of 116 degrees. The STEM mobile, my minivan, is blowing hot air out of one of the vents. It is blazing. It's like heat. So one side's cool, one side's hot. And so I figured out what the part is. What was the part called?
Well, we figured that out later, but it's the door blend actuator.
Yes.
So, you know,
So
everyone knows that part.
I figured this
Same as a
out.
flux capacitor.
Yes.
Exactly.
And I was like, all right, you know, I see a YouTube video. There's like 3 of these. You can pop these things in as opposed to paying thousands of dollars, taking it to the dealership. This thing's not very easy to find.
No.
Literally, I ripped my whole dashboard apart. It looked like I was at a chop shop. Someone was selling my car for parts. I took it all apart, and I just kept moving forward, taking more parts out, the radio out, taking the you name it. Like the whole thing was just chopped up there. And I finally had to wave the white flag and realize that I'm not going to be able to pull this job off, and I have to leave this to the professionals. So It hurt me, but I learned so much through the process, and it's a miracle. We put the
I
car
was
back
gonna
together.
say, yeah, but the thing is that I still believe that if we had a YouTube video that taught us specifically how to do that, I still think we would have been able to do it. There is no YouTube video that shows specifically how to do this at all. And we have scoured YouTube. So, I still think that is the case. So if somebody out there, if you know how to replace this part, I think you need to put together a video to teach, tutorial, because we needed it.
We could make a great video of how not to.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was amazing.
All right, Schubert. So tell us about your summer. What has the summer of administrator been like?
It's been wonderful. I mean, switching jobs in the middle of the summer is difficult because I don't want to leave anything, any loose ends at Sierra Verde, because that has been my home for 3 years, and I want to make sure that the next person is set up for success. So just working on all of that, making sure that I've got everything ready to kind of hand off to that person. And then I had about 5 days off.
Wow.
And then this opportunity landed in my lap, and ever since then my brain has been consumed by it, honestly. So it wasn't much of a summer, but it's definitely a summer to remember for sure.
Yeah, I would say that's the case.
Now, what are some of the things that you're taking away from your 3 years at Sierra Verde as you move into this next role?
I think that I've been very fortunate to be surrounded by just amazing educators, the best in the state. And Sierra Verde is just a very kind and welcoming and loving family of people. And, parents have been amazing to me. I mean, nothing's ever perfect, and there have been lots of difficult things that we've gone through. But everything, some of the changes that I made when I was there, everything was met with a positive attitude. And I can't say more about how much respect and love and gratitude I have for the community at Sierra Verde. It's just been absolutely the most wonderful experience, and it was very difficult to leave. But I know it's always going to be a home for me.
Totally.
And I think the biggest thing of your legacy is the parent pickup drop off. I mean, talk about leaving a legacy,
That's right.
Talk about shaking things up, just shutting down the Porter Gate and revolutionizing the entire drop off. I love it.
Oh my gosh. I'm a huge fan of that whole process. And so I agree. That's a huge legacy.
And for our listeners, you'll never understand. You'll never understand what goes into this there.
That's true. Behind the scenes. So can you kind of walk us back, like how you came into education? Like, what's your story?
Well,
she was a barista.
Yes.
I was.
Which is a natural stepping stone.
That's a pretty deep question, Christy.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I came into education because that was my safe place as a kid. And I had amazing teachers all throughout grade school. And I really went to school to kind of get away from my home life, mostly. So I ended up moving to Arizona in the late 80s. And my first school was basically like all these kids that were transplanted from around the nation, because Arizona is like a true melting pot of people from all across different states. And it is these, now today too, there's so many people moving here still. But when I moved to Arizona, actually, my high school teachers were unbelievable. And I had a very positive experience. And I met some amazing friends that I'm still friends with today. So I think that school provides kids and families with so much, and it's such an integral part of the community that when I went to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be, but I knew that I wanted to do something to impact communities. And I went to NAU, and NAU is a huge teachers college. And I just kind of felt always this ringing in my ear, like, you should be a teacher, you should be a teacher. And growing up, I was always the teacher when we played school in Smitten, Michigan. So it was just kind of a natural fit. And I was really fortunate to have an amazing 4 years at NAU where I was kind of like the I Teach program that we've hosted this last year. I got to spend my last senior year at NAU in the school district in Sedona. And what better place to learn to be a teacher than there was the beauty, and the community there is amazing as well. So just really wanting to impact children and make a difference, like all of the educators did for me that I had K through 12 and even in higher ed. So that was really my goal, and it's been an amazing ride so far. And I'm looking forward to, this adventure this year too.
So let me just ask you, so some of the people that have joined us, they kind of gave a shout out to a teacher that was really super impactful. Is there anyone that stands out in your long list of like really amazing educators?
That is really hard to pick just one, but my kindergarten teacher looped up to first grade with me, and her name was Mrs. Joy Hosson, and she was amazing because back then in the 70s, she did home visits. And so I remember before school started, she came to our house, and she was like a legend. And in my eyes, she was, this amazing first teacher that I held her up on a pedestal. She was just awesome and wonderful to me. And every year she took each student in her classroom to McDonald's for lunch.
Wow.
Yeah. And back then that was like, the McDonald's that we went to had like this huge tree in the center of it, and the kids all sat around these little stools. And Ronald McDonald used to actually come out every once in a while.
That scares me. Not a fan.
And I'll never forget going with her one-on-one and eating lunch with her at McDonald's.
Wow.
And I'm almost 50 years old, and I was 5 when that happened. So that's a huge memory for me, and it was so positive.
We forget those moments, like as teachers, like just those little things that maybe are just, something that you just have always done. You put together these little moments, and then years later, that's something that you took away. It's huge.
And that school was just an amazing place too. We had an amazing principal, and he was my principal kindergarten through 5th grade, and he was phenomenal too. He was always around, always out on the playground. He used to pull our teeth when they were loose.
Mr. Galletti, get on that.
His name was Mr. Dodson, and he was an amazing principal too. So I just had a great experience.
Amazing stories. And you think about, as we move into not knowing when school is going to open, your school is going to be online. You've been a leader at the forefront of the social emotional learning. Can you kind of talk about your role in terms and like your beliefs in social emotional, just sharing that story, how impactful that is?
I think it's because of my experiences that is so important to me. And, you can't teach much content if you've got kids that are in crisis or having a hard time. And I think that our world right now puts so much pressure on our students that we have to kind of give them some skills and tools to be able to manage those types of feelings. And really, you don't learn how to manage yourself unless you have a toolbox of things. So I just feel like we have to give kids those, and we have to teach those skills to them because they're not necessarily getting it at home as much as they need, because things are different than when you and I were kids. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have all those pressures put on us. And just being able to focus in the classroom and making sure that kids can calm themselves, can take deep breaths, and then that they've got someone to talk to at school too, I think is really important. So there's a lot of levels to the social emotional program or philosophy, but I think all of it is really important. It doesn't matter if they're 5 years old in kindergarten or a senior in high school. They all need some skills, and especially someone to connect with at school.
Yeah. Especially right now in these times, it's going to be the most important thing as we kind of transition back into the school year, and such a push was made for it last year, and these are things that kids are missing in the daily, like seeing their friends, being isolated. It's a hard time, and people that understand it, and those teachers that make the connections, administrators, those are going to be the ones that these kids are going to thrive and look back and remember on those connections and how much it meant to them.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because of what you're about to embark on, and teachers are going to have to be so intentional when they're teaching in online school. And one thing that I think is really cool about the school that you are heading, the year-round one, the one that's here to stay. When that they're committing for a whole year, it kind of gives you that opportunity to kind of build on that. This year may be a little bit of a challenge if it's a flex/online, which I know poses a whole different set of challenges. How do you make them feel connected? And then they're going to go into a classroom, and then they're going to need to connect there too. But then for you guys online, when you're not ever going to get that opportunity to meet one-on-one, finding those ways, not just for student engagement, but student engagement in an effort to make relationships, and finding those ways. And, I'm sure there's people all over the world that have been doing this remotely. And I think it's going to be so imperative that we are seeking those models out to learn from them, because that is a whole different challenge, especially because you're doing K all the way to 12th grade. And that's a slew of different needs to meet socially and emotionally,
Absolutely. And I've never, high school is a whole new world for me. So I have a whole lot to learn, but luckily we have amazing high schools in our district with amazing teachers and administrators. And I've already felt so much support, and, we'll just figure it out. I'm going to figure it out and learn so much this year, but I don't think it matters like I said before, what age they are. They still have to connect with an adult and with their classmates, whether they're online or in person. So we're going to be super intentional about making sure that we're connecting one-on-one with kids frequently, and also having kids meet, in small groups, and make sure that they're collaborating using Zoom rooms and breakout rooms and all that stuff. So we're kind of getting all that ready and thinking about that, but I think we're going to do an amazing job at it. So
can we put in the budget Happy Meals for all the teachers and students? Maybe bring that back, like a connection.
Just not Ronald McDonald, please. That's all I ask.
You'll always have a friend wearing big red shoes.
I don't do
right
or mascot. But do you feel like, even though your background in education is not specifically high school, do you feel like it's been an advantage for you coming into this role at the time that your kids are that age?
I definitely have a pulse on their perspective. I mean, my own children are very hurt and upset right now, and they've been struggling during this time. Neither one of them thought at the beginning that this was real. They thought it was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Scofield as well.
Okay, yeah. Throw anyone under the bus.
I think that they kind of had to grieve losing their school year.
Yeah.
My daughter was a senior, so she missed out on a lot of things. She didn't get to go to prom. And that was something, of course, you look forward to for a very long time.
Yeah.
And my son will be a senior, so he is my total extrovert, and he loves to be with his teachers in the classroom. He's one of those kids that is constantly, raising his hand and participating, and that he really misses that. He misses his teachers, and he misses his friends and the whole social aspect. I don't know if he misses the academics so much, but he definitely misses the social part of school, which I think is really important, because that is what makes you the adult, that you'll become someday. So.
Well, and I think that's the thing, is at any grade, but that's how I felt about my 8th graders too, is 8th grade is not just those 4 subjects in their STEM or their electives. it's the socialization, it's all of the community, it's the traditions of it. And that, obviously extends into high school as well. There's so many things unique. This was the first year that Ella got to have a parking spot. So that's a big thing, right? To a junior, that's a big deal. I paid for that thing and that was expensive. And now she's going to get to use it. However, it's all of those things that to an adult, when you're looking at a pandemic and all of the things that are on people's radar, it seems so unimportant. But I think as teachers that we have to remember those little things are the world to kids. Those are their big things. And so we have to be sensitive of that and understand that that is a big deal. All those little nuances of the day and the socialization for your son, just being able to raise his hand and having that interaction in his class and the communication with his peers, that is a loss. And we have to take that seriously, just like an adult dealing with something really big scale financially or a job loss or any of that. That's that same level for them,
Absolutely.
of that. So
now, what have some of your colleagues and friends said to you as you're embarking on this audacious K-12 online school?
Well, everybody's been super positive and very supportive. I haven't had anybody be critical yet, but that is something that is part of the job of leading a new endeavor like this is criticism. But I try to handle everything and approach everything with a positive attitude. And if there's a problem, I want to know about it right away. Or if there's an issue, whether it be, a process thing, because we are going to have a lot of movement with kids going back and forth to on campus, then online, and online to on campus. So if we just keep kids at the center of those decisions, I think that everything else will work out. Because what I didn't really think about is this: we have a lot of old software systems that we use, and I don't want to say they're old, really. They're new, but they're limited in what they can do. So I guess I didn't realize how cumbersome it would be to move a kid on Power Schools from a campus to an online model. It just doesn't work smoothly or easily. So just making sure that we know where our kids are, who they're assigned to if they're coming online or going back to campus. So that in itself is going to pose a lot of issues, I'm sure. But like I said, we only can deal with things one at a time and try to do the best that we can. And that's the goal, making sure our kids are well cared for and transitioning well from both models. So.
Well, positive attitude, I think, is going to be so key, because this is something that's never been done, for us as a district, and it's completely from scratch. And the cool thing about that is you can build it and have fingerprints all in there, and you're going to get to help design it, as you go. But there's not a specific roadmap, which is a scary feeling, but it's such an opportunity. So if you look at it with a positive attitude and know there's going to be a million kinks just in a regular school year, when there's nothing different that you're having to navigate, there's already those things. So just kind of knowing that's ahead, but see the excitement and the opportunities there, I think, is a great way to kind of have that mindset.
Now, what do you see as the biggest challenge opening this K-12 online school?
Well, we've had a lot of parents ask questions about how it's going to happen. And, we start school in, I think it's about 2.5, 3 weeks.
Rob knows. Yeah.
Coming quick. 3 weeks from today. Yeah. 3 weeks from today.
Because we open, we're one of the states that opens early. And we're still building the ship. So some of the questions have been kind of hard to answer because we don't know yet, and we haven't built the process yet, but it will be built by the time our students start on August 3rd. So right now, parents are taking surveys and we're getting information from them about how they want to start school this year. And I think that is the most important piece, is that parents have been given a choice. They can come back fully on campus, they can choose to start online permanently for the year, or they can choose a hybrid option, which is a little bit of both. which is that flex model. So I think that, listening to parents and making sure that they have choices has been a really great thing, but it also opens up a lot of questions. So, that's just been the hardest thing so far, is answering their questions when we're still kind of developing how it's going to work.
And the enrollment, you have no clue what your enrollment is right now, right?
We have an idea, and it's a lot. So a lot of kids are going to be starting online, which also poses the question of who's going to teach those online classes. So there'll be teachers that will come off campus and start teaching online fully, and some teachers that will stay in the buildings. So it'll be not only movement for the students, but movement for our staff as well.
Yeah.
And that's something I really want to focus on, is making sure that happens as smoothly as possible. And that staffs, they need to be cared for too, because teaching is not for the weak at heart. It is very challenging and difficult. And I don't think people really realized how much teachers do until they had their kiddos home this spring, and how much their school meant to them and to their family, and the structure of how their days and their weeks and their months go. So it's kind of been an eye-opener for everybody, and just really solidifies the knowledge and the idea that schools are so vital to our nation, really.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's the thing, is teachers, our focus is social emotional this year for our students. And we have to be so guarded about our own social emotional, because not only did we end the year very abruptly having to shift into uncharted territory, but then I know not many of us really had a summer of recharging on the same level that you normally would, amidst COVID restrictions for travel and just the challenges that posed. And so to not be able to go into a school year that we already don't know what that looks like, without that kind of recharge, more than ever, it's going to be so important for us to be just, kind of guarding that part of us too, because we're, it's like, reminds me of the airline thing, how they always say, put your mask on first before you can do that for other people. But we're going to have to do that, because we're going to, it's going to be hard not to be depleted if you don't tend to yourself. So Absolutely. What was that like? So you used to teach, what grade did you teach at first when you came into education?
Well, I kind of have a variety of experiences. My first teaching job was as a K-8 librarian.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
So I have
You're an onion.
A lot of people don't know this, but I have a minor in library science from NAU, and
you could take that anywhere,
Yeah, I don't even carry the endorsement on my certificate anymore, because it literally is not a job anymore. Unless you're at a public library, at a high school library, it really doesn't exist, unfortunately. That's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
So for 2 years, I took a 30-year-old library and revamped the whole thing. It was a crazy experience as well, but fun. And then I taught middle school, social studies for 7th and 8th graders. And then I kind of found my niche in 5th grade. So I taught 5th grade for 8 years. And then I became an instructional coach for 5 years. And then I became an assistant principal. So
quite the journey there.
I tell you
Mrs. O is smiling right now, just hearing about that revamping the library.
Yeah, it was 1996. It was quite a long time ago. And it was the old card catalog drawers.
Yes.
So I had to completely automate the library, and it was the first time we'd gotten phones in that campus. So every teacher got a phone that summer, which before we'd only had the black buttons, to call the campus. And then the next summer, we got email addresses for the first time. So it was just a big couple years, technology wise.
Yeah. So have you always used a lot of technology through your journey? Is that something you're pretty comfortable with?
Yeah, I mean, in all of my positions, whether it was as a librarian, a classroom teacher, or an instructional coach, all throughout those years, it was I was really the tech person. I was the go-to person for technology on all of the in all the roles that I served.
So that's going to come in handy now.
Now,
Yeah, but a lot has changed, you know, like
Yes, it will continue.
like
Yeah.
Now, how will you find a balance with the emails? I can't imagine a K-12 school, how many emails you're gonna be getting a day, let alone
no kidding.
district emails and teacher emails. How are you gonna find that balance of handling all that email?
That is a very good question, Rob. I don't know. I've been reading some blogs about managing email and not, you know, making sure it doesn't become the bane of your existence and that it sucks up all your time. And I think Tony Galletti taught me a lot about managing that. And you set dedicated time, kind of prioritize the emails, and, you know, delete all the garbage. So that's going to be.
He also is good about saying, please don't email me.
Yes. Yeah. So maybe for my staff, I'll set up a different way, maybe a Slack or a Trello where we can just talk that way instead of on email.
Yeah, because I know he's pretty, I know that that's just a huge issue to get buried. How does it feel so you've been fortunate enough to work side by side to principals now. What kinds of things did you learn from Paula and from Tony that you think you're going to kind of take with you?
Well, I have several people that have really influenced me. I guess I have to go back to my experience right before Paula. I was with a principal named Linda Price-Berry. Mm-hmm. And she has been instrumental and been my mentor for about 14 years. And she's just been amazing. She allowed me to get tons of professional development, and she gave me very rich experiences that helped me to kind of hone my leadership skills, which prepared me for, you know, the role of assistant principal. So from Paula, she's definitely been a huge impact on me. Most people don't know, but I've known Paula we went to college together and we worked together when we were in college. So I've known her for over 20 years, probably 25 years.
Wow.
But yeah, I know, it's crazy. So Paula is just the sweetest, kindest, most loving person, but don't misjudge her because she's also tough too. She has high expectations, but she really is human with people, and I definitely learned that from her. And she's so smart. All of the people I've worked with are just so intelligent. And then Tony, you know, he really influenced the work-life balance. I think as educators, we can spend so much time and dedicate so much of our time, personal time, to teaching and to the field of education, that he kind of helped me see that it's okay to turn it off at a certain time and spend time with your family. And I guess over the last 2 years, that has been really impactful. It doesn't mean that you're any less effective, because I think actually you become more effective because you're so focused. So that has been huge for me as well, and something to take forward to, you know, to others.
Mm-hmm.
I love that story. We're just peeling back the layers of Schubert here. I love all this coming out here. Now, did you guys work together at Starbucks?
I worked with Paula at Best Western Worldwide headquarters, which is, now I'm sitting at Barry Goldwater High School. So I could walk to Best Western, where Paula and I worked together. We used to work in the customer service department, where we took complaints from all of the hotel guests from all over the world.
Wow. I mean,
that's uplifting.
I think that kind of groomed you for where you are today.
I know, really. It's true.
Yeah, I remember the first day, or the day that she got her first job at Mountain Ridge teaching Spanish. She was so excited, and I was so excited for her. So I was already teaching, but because I used to have to work 2 jobs in order to pay my bills.
Hey.
As a first year teacher, I only made, you know, $23,000 a year. So didn't really, pay all the bills. So I had a second job, and or maybe we got it the same, I can't remember, it was so long ago. It might've been the same time I got the job. I'm not sure.
That reminds me of Deb Moore last week on the pod when she talked about looking at her first salary, and she was like, "What'd you say? Is that the first?
Is that for the first semester?"
Yeah.
Right?
Just as tough times.
Yeah.
Now, will the K-12 school have a physical space where you can get to meet with the teachers, or teachers can teach like in a physical space, or is this all they're going to teach from home? Like, what is the landscape of this online school?
Well, most of them will teach from home, but there are a few teachers. So the library at Barry Goldar has kind of been transformed into a lab with computers and smartboard and all that stuff.
Did you do that?
Go ahead.
Did you do that?
No, that was already. So this program's been around since 2007. So really we're just expanding it. But upstairs, there's an upstairs in the library, both here at Goldwater and at Deer Valley High School, because it's the same building, but they never put an elevator in. So really the upstairs has been kind of obsolete, not finished, and not really used by students much because the fact that not all kids can get up there. So we have teachers up there that have stations and big computer screens and the headsets and all that fun stuff, and they teach from up there. But most teachers this coming year that are going to be online teachers will probably work from home. So
now, do you have an office? Like, are you in your office right now?
I do. I have a little office, so it's funny because it's in the library. I'm
you can't get away from the library life. Yeah,
exactly. So it's been they're repurposing lots of things and spaces to make room for the new world that we're going to be living in next year.
So are you working closely with principals, or is this something like a separate entity? So like, who are your peers at this point? Like, who are you who's your PLC?
It's going to be the other principals in the district. So we're going to work together to move kids back and forth between the physical school world and the virtual school world. So I'll be working with them. I also have Dr. Hirschberg is the director of Deer Valley Online Learning Program. So we'll be working really closely together and already have, but right now all the principals are off contract except for the high school principals. So I've met with them already a few times. And it's been a lot because there's a lot to learn about high school and credits and, singleton teachers that, there's only one teacher in the whole district that teaches finance. So how are we going to move that class online so that kids can still take it? So we're still working through all of that, but I have a lot of meetings now a week, whereas, my days at Sierra Verde, I was able to walk the campus and interact with kids. And so I still want to do that, but my walking around is going to be a virtual thing. Mm-hmm. And just making sure that I'm connecting with kids and with the teachers that are teaching online.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
Now, another challenge that just came to my head. How are you going to incorporate special ed minutes and kind of find that balance? I just think of like one more difficult thing where we're going to online and, giving students that support.
Well, we will have lots of kids with IEPs that go online. And so we will be working to make sure that is as smooth as we can, because the IEP doesn't stop. If you go online, you still are working towards your IEP goals. So we were just talking about that the other day. And in fact, right now there's a bunch of curriculum designers or course builders is what we're calling them. And we were talking about how we're going to ensure that the special education teacher or service coordinator can collaborate with the general education teacher in a smooth way so that it's not confusing for our students and families. So we'll be working through those details. It's probably, nothing is ever perfect. You have these ideas and you try them just like you would in the classroom. Mm-hmm. They may need some tweaking and some adjusting, but we'll be able to do it. We did a lot of teletherapy and service delivery with our special education students in the spring when we were forced to. And we want to make that even better for our students and make sure that their progress is continuing even with the IEP goals, or especially with their IEP goals.
It's a tough challenge. I
It
know you got it under control. Now, where are you getting the bulk of your students from? Is it in the K-8 side or is it the high school side?
Well, it's been kind of balanced. So I think it's easier, or high schoolers are more adaptable to go online. And of course, some of them really do better in that situation. So there is a big chunk of the kids that will be high schoolers. But we also have, lots of K-8 kids that will be going online too. I think it's just a matter of, what their family situation is right now and what dictates whether they'll be on campus or online.
Wow, just a lot going on. Now, what do you think the staffing size for this K-12 school? Like, what's your vision? What do you think your staff could be?
Well, the first survey that I got, it was about a 60% were going back online and 40% of our population wants to come online. Did I say that right? So that's a lot of teachers. So that's like 100 teachers, maybe 200, I don't know. I can't really think about it right now because it is very overwhelming. I have to think about it though. But yeah, that's where the connection with their campus principal is going to be so important, because there's no way as one person that you can manage a staff that large. If you think about a high school that has thousands of students, they have a team of administrators. And so my team is just, it's not going to be necessarily, they're all working for Deer Valley Online Learning Program, but they're going to be working at all of our other campuses. So it's going to be a true display of collaboration and communication and working together to make sure that it's smooth for all of our kids.
You're in a unique position in the fact that, for Rob and I, we're waiting to see if school gets pushed back, right? Start date, the official start date for in-person. Will it get extended beyond that August 17th? Now, for you guys that are online, it's go time regardless, right? It will perhaps affect your flex students maybe, but I mean, it's kind of a consistent thing. So it's nice in the fact that what it looks like. You just don't know how many are coming your way, right? And how to staff that, which is a totally different challenge than what the principals are trying to kind of work out that are in a physical, brick and mortar kind of building. Mm-hmm. So it's just interesting, the different challenges that you guys are all facing. Hopefully there's a lot of support groups for you guys. It's just a lot, that's the thing. The weird thing about education to me is, we're the face of so much, and there's a lot of stuff that we just have to adapt to. We're not the decision makers. So it's like, we don't know what's coming our way, but we know we'll adapt to it and we'll figure it out and we'll be able to make it awesome. But it's tough to be kind of the face and have that not be something that people are thinking fondly of. It's difficult. And I'm sure for you in admin, I mean, that's just kind of the way of your job, is that's, kind of goes hand in hand. But it's been tough for educators, I think, to kind of have that kind of muddled viewpoint of what we do and all that,
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes education bears the burden of blame, for different things. But if you look over time, there's educators in our country are the best in the world. They adapt. We educate all students. It doesn't matter. We don't just set kids aside like some other countries do. Everybody gets to come to school. Everybody is learning, and everybody has those opportunities. And, there's not many countries that do that as well as we do. And I think that we need, and I've seen over the course of my career, that we've gotten better at advocating for ourselves. But we're all human. So, you know, there's no roadmap for living through this pandemic. And I think that all people in our country and in our world are facing that gray, unknown uncertainty that nobody's really used to. And we just all have to understand that we have different challenges and different needs for our families to keep everybody safe and healthy. And I think everybody's kind of scared right now and wondering what's going to happen or how everything's going to work. But I don't have any doubt in my mind that we will get through this and we're going to become so much better for it. And, you know, I really am a huge believer in the power of grit and making sure that, you know, you can reach down deep and pull on those things that you've experienced in your life that have made you the person that you are. And overcoming hard challenges is just such an awesome learning experience, you know, and we're going to fail. And that's when we learn the most. And we're going to be successful at other times. And that's when we need to celebrate.
Yeah.
Now, will you be using Canvas K-12 or will teachers be using Google Classroom? What's going to be the learning platform?
Well, one of the things that that we heard our parents share with us and that I, as an administrator, agree with is that we had too many ways that kids were interacting with their teachers. So some kids were using Canvas while another one of their children was using Google Classroom. And then, you know, it just got confusing because we want to make it simple and the least amount of clicks, especially for our little guys, you know, because when you're 6 and 5 and 6 years old, it's really hard to navigate when you have to click 15 times to get to what you're supposed to be doing. So we really want to streamline our communication. And one of the best ways that we can do that is by unifying our learning management system, our platform. And so we will be using Canvas K-12 for the Flex students and the Deer Valley Online Academy, excuse me. And right now, like I said a little bit ago, we have course builders that are building shells. So all teachers will have a shell to build off of. So once we want things organized and easy to use so that, you know, if you're a family with 4 kids and you've got a, you know, range of learners at different ages, that they can learn to be independent, of course, but also their older sibling might be able to help them if they're younger because they also are using Canvas and they understand how it operates.
That's a good point.
So it's really important for us to be on one platform.
Looks like you got it all figured out. You know what you're doing. I have no worries.
Piece of cake, Shelly. Piece of cake.
I don't know about that, but we're definitely.
These are the things, like, I know this has probably been like the thing that's been the most important to you taking on this job. Will you have a mascot for your school? This is what I need.
We will not, because, well, the Deer Valley Online Academy is going to have a mascot and it's a hummingbird.
Oh.
The Flex model, the whole goal is to get kids back on campus in their brick and mortar class. And I don't want them to feel like they're going to stay here, because this is just kind of a way for us to get through this pandemic, and it's temporary. Mm-hmm. We're not going to have a mascot or anything like that, because the goal is to keep them connected to their home campus, because that is where they belong and that is where the most effective learning happens. And that's our number one goal, is to make sure that they're back with their teachers.
But you have a hummingbird. Okay, that's
well
for your other school, for like the online.
Yeah, for the other side, yes. For the kids that are picking online all year, their new mascot is a hummingbird.
It is adorable, I have to say.
It is super cute.
Yeah, and I don't like birds, but I like hummingbirds. They're pretty cool.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Well, it's been an honor to sit down with you.
Yes.
We've been blessed to work with you the past 3 years. You've pushed us to grow. You've challenged us. You've made us laugh. And we know that you're going to rise to the challenge in these uncertain times.
Yeah, we're going to miss you. I hope that there's still plans. I mean, since there's not a physical building, I don't think it would be a conflict of interest for you to come back and do the play when the plays are back together, you know? I mean, you made a great cop, and, you know, like, I just think there's things that, you know, maybe you'll have a competing softball team or something like that, but we're very, very proud of you and super, super excited for this part of journey, and we're excited to see how you grow and expand this, because honestly, you know, the sky's the limit. You can make it anything that you know, that's it. It could be anything, and I know it'll be amazing no matter what it is.
Thank you both so much. And I've learned so much from both of you over the last 3 years. And I know that this is not, I mean, yes, I won't be able to see you every single day, but I know that you're just a text or a phone call away. So I'm, you know,
Hashtag truth.
yeah, is going to continue, because I may need you. I may need to call you up and say, hey, how do I do this? And you're going to be, I know, right there to help me. And
yeah, don't hesitate. Do not hesitate, for sure. We're excited. We're all going to be on this journey together, and, you know, see where this takes us.
Yeah.
As we say, people, if you can be anything in the world, be kind. Now, if you loved hearing about Mrs. Schubert's teacher lunch dates to McDonald's, her experience as a barista, and working with Dr. Chunis at Best Western, taking all of your hotel complaints, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Every Tuesday, the latest episode of The Nailed It Wall will be downloaded to your phone. And if you're on Twitter like us, make sure you follow us. You can find me at Mr. Lane, the STEM guy.
And me at a positive proton.
And me at Schubert _ Shelly.